We kept seeing these ads pop up with pictures of cakes saying you don't have to be obese to lose weight.
This story is about other companies that have grown up around the popularity of weight loss drugs. Compounding pharmacies have sort of made a fortune off versions of the drugs.
We don't know what the risks are because they are really understudied. These really powerful weight loss drugs intended for people who are obese are now being marketed as a thin is in moment. You can see in this chart here that a study released in August found that off-label Ozempic prescriptions for people who are not obese, overweight, or diabetic grew from 3% in 2018 to 30% in 2023. For off-label Wegovy, it rose as high as 38%. So if you're scrolling through social media, you might notice some telehealth companies advertising GLP-1s, this class of weight loss drug.
I chose to microdose a GLP-1 peptide.
I've had so many friends, family members who have sent me screenshots seeing these ads, and they're like, I don't struggle with obesity. Why am I getting targeted by these ads?
Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are the two pharmaceutical giants who originally created this class of weight loss shots. After they came onto market, there was a huge demand for these shots, and it put them into shortage. That's part of how these telehealth companies have been able to rise.
These medications are not the same as the drugs that Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are selling, and that they've rigorously studied over the last several years in many, many patients.
Now we're no longer in shortage, and so there's this tension between the pharmaceutical giants and the telehealth companies who are still trying to market those compounded versions and be able to keep some of that market share.
Pharmaceutical companies can't make claims that sort of overemphasize the effectiveness of their drugs. They need to be really careful about the way that they market them. But when it comes to telehealth companies, they don't really fall into that same, regulatory bucket.
It was surprising how often they were showing up in our feeds. It's interesting that they were now a broad marketing towards people who may just want to lose a few pounds here and there.
A lot of medical professionals are really worried that the proliferation of these advertisements is perpetuating diet culture, issues about body image.
Doctors really do not recommend people at a healthy weight using these drugs because we don't know really what happens if you're at a healthy weight and you start taking them just to lose 5 or 10 pounds. Side effects for anyone taking a GLP-1 can include extreme nausea, vomiting, or gastrointestinal issues.
For so many people, losing weight is hard, regardless of how you're doing it. And so these medications work, and that is something that people are really happy about. The FDA can come in and really crack down on these companies. They've sent warning letters to some of these companies, essentially telling them to just stop without really any legal or regulatory action coming in behind that.
Eli Lilly and Novo have sued some of these telehealth firms. Some of those lawsuits are still ongoing, with at least one being dismissed.
Looking to the future, it will be really important to keep our eye on what the federal government does and thinks about this whole situation. Pharmaceutical companies for a long time have been asking the FDA to step in. So far, we haven't seen much action taken in terms of the compounding and the telehealth companies, and so that's something that will be really important to watch going forward.